Hello, everyone. So this PowerPoint will give you some background information for your lab on Tuesday on if your university is a carbon sink or a carbon source. So this lab investigates if NCCU is a source of carbon sink or is a carbon source. Now, what do those two terms mean? Well, a carbon sink is a place, so like a farm, a forest, a park, just any place in general that takes in and absorbs carbon, while a carbon source is a place or a thing that releases carbon. So we can think of that as like factories or a car, maybe like a highway. Those are carbon sources. So why do we want to investigate such thing? Well, we do know that carbon dioxide does play a key role in climate change and global warming by not allowing by trapping in a lot of the heat in the earth, but also let's just put in simple, if a car is releasing carbon dioxide, that car could also release more harmful gases and chemicals into nature and atmosphere that can affect people who has respiratory issues like asthma or bronchitis. But also, again, all of that can affect the atmosphere by depleting ozone layers and creating acid rain. So here's a brief outline of the lab. So part 1A will take about 5 minutes. Mainly in that first 5 minutes of class, I will be splitting the class into two groups. One that will take information about cars at our study area, and one that will take information about the trees in our study area. Then part 1B, that will be the first main chunk of the lab. It will take time for us to walk to our study area, investigate in our study area, and then walk back to the classroom. And then part two, which is the second main chunk, is that you guys will be back in the classroom taking your data and putting it into an Excel workbook that I will create. And then for the last part, right before class ends and stuff, we will take data from both groups and put them together to determine whether or not NCCU is a place that is a carbon sink or a carbon source. So part one of this lab should take about 5 minutes. It's mainly me assigning the class into two groups. One group that will investigate cars versus the other group that will investigate trees. If you have a preference as to which one, you can let me know during that time. If not, I'm just going to split you guys either way. Also, I'll be going over a very short condensed version of what each group will be doing at our study area. The very most important thing is that please, please, please try to make it to class by 9:25 a.m. Class will start at 9:25 a.m. If you show up after 9:25 a.m. and the class is gone, you will have to make up this lab on a specific date that is on Blackboard in the announcements. You will have to email me for that. For Tuesday, I highly recommend you bringing a jacket and or a hat. We will be outside doing this lab for a good chunk of our time, so I just want you to be comfortable, but also wear comfortable walking shoes. Also, bring something to write with and write on. You can absolutely take notes on your phone while you're doing this. However, you will be also using your cell phone to look up some things while you're out there. And I just find it easier just to write things down and quickly find it rather than digging it through my phone. Speaking of your cell phone, you will need it along with an app download on it called Seek. I'll talk about it later. And then Dr. G and I will provide you with some tape measures. So hopefully by 9:30 we can all leave together as a class and walk over to our study area. Our study area will be in front and around the James E. Shepherd Administrative Building. For those of you who don't know where that is, if you go outside of the building where your class is in normally and you look past the middle of where the two dorms buildings are at, then you look past the parking booth. There is like a statue all the way back there, and we will be in that area. So this part is going to be a little bit intense, so just try to bear with me. essentially both teams will have to do a little bit of guesstimating. But essentially, each team will investigate how many trees and or how many cars are in that area of study. So first, my tree team people. Most of the trees in your area are going to be the same type of species slash breed, but you need to find out what type of tree it is. So using the Seek app on your phone, you're going to point it at the tree and you're going to tell me what type of tree is it. If it's an oak, what type of oak is it? Then you're going to use your tape measure and try your best to loop it all around the trunk of the tree. So you're going to get the circumference of the tree to measure its breast height, otherwise known as CBH. Then any of the trees in your area that look similar, and if you want and have enough time to see if they are the same type of tree, you can use your app. But otherwise, count how many trees in your area looks like your tree and looks about the same size too. If so, example, the first tree you measure has a CBH of 10, and there are 3 types of the same trees that looks like it, you're going to have 3 types of oak with each of them with a CBH of 10. And you're going to record that in your notebook. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. Then for my car team people, you're going to count how many SUVs, trucks, and sedans or small cars in your area. So, but it's just not that easy. You also will have to tell me what type of car it is by giving me its make and model. So, in order to do that, one person can be in charge of counting all of the trucks and all of the sedans and all of the SUVs. It's up to you guys. But let's say if in that area you see 10 trucks, and out of those 10 trucks, 8 of them are Ford F-150s. As of this moment now, all 10 trucks are Ford F-150s. We're not going to make it all complicated. So essentially, you're going to tell me how many trees are in your area, what species are all of those trees, and what is the CBH of those trees individually. And then for my car team people, you're going to tell me how many SUVs, trucks, and sedan slash small cars are in your area. Tell me what type of car is it. So if it's a Nissan Altima or a Toyota Corolla, and tell me how many are in your area. Does that make sense? So this is our area for investigation. So this is the entire James E. Shepherd Administrative Building, which is all the way back here. We will be looking at the trees and cars all over that general area. So for my tree team peoples, as you can see, we're going to be looking at the trees that are at the front right here on either side of the street, as well as the amount of trees that are towards around the statue, and as well as that little bunches of trees down there. So let's say if we have 6 people in the trees group, I would like to have 2 people investigating the amount of trees here, 2 people investigating the amount of trees there, and 2 people investigating the amount of trees there. So if we have more than 6 people, that would be wonderful. If not, I will try to make myself useful and join the tree team. For my car team people, if you ever have walked to the CAF and walked past this general vicinity, you know that there are cars that are parked along the sides of the parking booth attendant, as well as cars parked around the statue and cars parked beyond that. So again, if we have 6 people in the cars group, I would like 2 people to take information about the cars back here, 2 people to take information about cars that are around the statues, and 2 people to take information about the cars that are near the parking booth attendant. So after that, we'll take 10 minutes to walk back to class. Obviously, if we make it to our study area quicker, we'll have more time to investigate there. And then if we can walk back quickly, I don't have to rush you guys at all. So for our second part of our lab, you guys, both teams will have to do some data analysis with their cars with their cars or their trees. There's a lot of information and I will just briefly go over it here, but I'll definitely go into detail on Tuesday after our first part of our lab. So just quickly going over my car team people, you will go onto a website called fueleconomy.gov and you will find some information about your car, your trucks, or your SUVs. And you just tell me how much carbon dioxide that car or truck or SUV releases per year. So after you have gathered the information about how much carbon dioxide is released in a year for that car, truck, or SUV, everyone in your group will put all the information onto one Excel worksheet. And you're just going to submit that together. Only one person will need to do that. Please make sure that you put everyone's first and last name so everyone can get credit. For my trade team friends, you guys will just follow the instructions on the Excel workbook, and you will put your data onto the Excel workbook. It will do some calculations for you. After you've gathered your calculations, you and your group mates will compile all your data onto one Excel spreadsheet that one person will need to turn in. So upon completion, only one person from each group will have to submit one Excel workbook for everybody. So I should only receive 2 Excel files total. And please try to make sure that this time it is submitted as an Excel file rather than a PDF. So if you have a MacBook, please try to work with someone who has a Windows or just use the computer in the lab. But I only need one Excel file from each group. Again, please make sure you put everyone's name on it so everyone can receive credit. So in this third part of the lab, after you guys have submitted all of your work onto Blackboard, I will quickly gather them and put them together. And then we're going to just see, using your datas, to see if NCCU is a carbon sink or a carbon source. So using your data that you both teams have provided, we'll get to make a firm decision. Like any real scientist, to conclude any experiments, we need to talk about what went right and what went wrong and anything we could do differently for future experiments. So we're going to talk about anything that might rule as an error in our lab that day, or anything that you would like to change about this lab if we were to do this lab investigation in the future. So some things that you need to do before Tuesday, before class. Please complete the pre-lab quiz before Monday, November 7th by 11:59. It will be open book and open notes. So you can always open up this PowerPoint again to get your answer, because I want to make sure that you understand what we are going to do, at least for the first half of our lab on Tuesday. Also, please, 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 please download the app on screen. I have 2 QR codes for Android and for iOS devices. If you don't want to use the QR code because you are suspicious of them, that's totally fine. Just search in your app store, Seek by iNaturalist, and download on your phone. Feel free to play around in your home, in your neighborhood, to see if you can just identify any, it works with animals, it works with bugs, leaves, flowers, so you can be better prepared for class on Tuesday. So if you have any questions about this lab or what you will be doing on Tuesday, feel free to shoot me an email. You know my email. It is posted in Blackboard under the announcement about your makeup labs. Otherwise, my email is vnguyen2@eagles.nccu.edu, and I will see you guys in class on Tuesday.